Hello everyone, Tactical Lich here, and welcome back to another Total Warhammer modded multiplayer gameplay. Now today we are facing off against General Eisenbart in the same modded tournament, the Troll Crown, and we are looking at an Albion versus Fimir Warriors matchup. I've not tried this matchup before, so that's why I decided to counterpick as the Albion, but I forgot to save the replay. So we are watching from the perspective of General Eisenbart here, green side going for Fimir Warriors, while I'm going for the red side Albion. Now for the army builds here, I'm going for a quite infantry heavy formation, a front line of warbands and a second line of anti-large infantry, warbands on the flanks with spears, and then two Oathsworn with halberds. Very solid infantry with decent stats, heavy armor, and then in the middle of them, the defenders of Camelog, the Highlanders, but not with the two-handed Highlander sword, but with pikes. Yes, they are the Scottish Phalanx, the Shieldtron formation, providing an even more elite backbone in the second line of defense. Now, of course, Albion has their own monster selection, so we're not just relying on pointy sticks. We have two anti-large monsters, the Zotes. Yes, the Zotes do exist on the Albion roster, definitely some of my favorite monsters in this game. They have pretty solid melee power, and on top of that, their versatility comes in from their bound spell, Earthblood to heal and Flesh to Stone to provide additional resistance. Leading the army, we have the Truthsayer of Beast coming in with the Curse of Unright, Flock of Doom, and a Power Stone for more magic. On the flanks there, we have a bunch of mobility, cheap chaff, also the Hobblers with spears to counteract any light cavalry of my opponent. As my opponent is bringing two Moorhounds, one regular Moorhounds and the other the Hellhounds of Basker Moor, the Regiment of Renown version. Basically, they are a demonic hound unit, so they indeed do suffer from demonic instability. Now for the infantry line of my opponent, the main formation, they're actually going for mostly infantry and only one monstrous unit at the back. A full front line of Bogglers set up with a second line of Fim Warriors, and further back the Shirl Scouts, very cost efficient javelin infantry, can dish out quite some massive pain against any monsters. My infantry part of the army would be fine, but my Zotes and the Hobbler cavalry will have to be careful around these guys. At the back we have the Killing Eye. Theme Death quests basically are the slayers of themes. And there is not much monster, probably anticipating me bringing a ton of anti-large. So mostly just using these kind of anti-infantry forces to perhaps grind through my army. Now for the back here we have a Fox Shrine of Balor, providing some laser eye on a stone tower thing with tentacles and eyeballs. Further back there, we have the Chulan's Marsh Hornets, the Bog Beast Raiders with a bit of Regiment of Renown support, the Gloom of Flies, basically a Nurgle equivalent buff, providing additional melee defense, but also terror in melee. They also have poison to reduce enemy melee power and damage output. And then leading the army, we have a Dirac Elder of Death coming in with Fate of Funa and Spirit Leech. That's it for the army builds. Now let's get the battle started. One thing I find particularly funny about the Fimir roster is this Fox Shrine. They're literally just dragging a whole stone tower around with some eyes on top. This elevated eye can actually shoot over a lot of their troops and blast away at enemy units. You can see that a laser will be unleashed, and yes, there goes some of my units. One of the Zotes is already down from a direct hit, and the explosion also hurt some of the surrounding war bands, so the Zotes will be hiding back into the forest, hoping to use this foliage to block off incoming shots. At the same time, my Hobblers with spears are moving up into flanking position, hoping to compromise some of these Shirl Scouts. If you manage to catch a glimpse of a explosion on some trees there, you can probably spot that the hiding tactic is going quite well for the Zotes, as they're now moving up, ready to counteract my opponent's mobility and the supporting Bogglers. At the front line, their warbands are engaging, but most of them have suffered a volley of javelins from a ton of Shirl Scouts. You can see that some of them are now down to half health. They are not exactly the tankiest unit, with only 22 melee defense and paper-thin armor, so every bit of damage they take will be quite substantial. As you can see here, another volley of javelins, and they're now down to less than half health, so they're pretty much a glass cannon chap. Very good at offense, but absolutely terrible at defense.
Now on the other side here, we have some hobblers pushing in, actually caught the moorhounds unprepared, but then here comes a Chulan's Marsh Hornets, the Bog Beast Raiders countercharging, and the hobblers will be pushed off. The other side is much better for my engagement right now because there are no Bog Beast Raiders, and on top of that, my Zolts and hobblers managed to actually break one of the Moorhound units. They have already disappeared from the battlefield. Now it is time to deal with these bogglers. As for the front line here, the first wave of warbands pretty much have been pushed off. They are not exactly great at holding around in combat, especially when they start losing melee combat, they will suffer a -5 leadership debuff, so I engage my anti-large second line here. The Oath Swans, the defenders of Carmelog, and the warbands with spears, they are all holding the line. Some of them are even silencing the Shiro Scouts from firing their javelins. Now the Chulan's Marsh Hornets, managing to push off my hobblers, will be going back to the middle fight and hopefully finish off my Zolts and the infantry. This is still going to be a tall order even for a regiment of renown, but they do indeed pack quite a bit of fighting power. Spirit Leech going down on top of my Zolt units, draining their health consistently, and that is definitely one of the main threats for my army here. My healing exists, but they are still kind of limited. Yes, my Zolts have Earth Blood, but they are bound spells, so they can only use the spell so many times. I have to be really careful with the timing and placement, making sure every single cast counts. Now on the right flank of the Albion army, with a combination of hobblers and Zolt, we managed to beat back the Moorhound mobility. These Zolt and hobblers are pushing in, trying to surround the Derek Elder, so the bogglers are moving in, using themselves as meat shields, screening away the threats from their leadership. At this point, seeing that all the Shiro Scouts unleashing those anti-large volleys on my hobblers, I will be pulling them away, jumping them on top of these Fim warriors and delivering a nice rear charge, even dropping a bit of a flesh to stone spell to keep them alive, but that is not quite enough. While the Zolts themselves are getting drained by the Spirit Leech. At the same time, javelins are raining in. This is definitely not enjoyable for them. Thankfully, they do have that missile resistance of 25% from their scaly skin, keeping them slightly alive longer in front of the Shiro Scouts anti-large missiles. Warbands of Spears here is now pushing forward, hoping to deal with the Shiro Scouts. I'm not sure what they're doing right now, as they're being dragged back into some other... Oh, that's why. They're trying to go after this Shiro Scouts there, but then again, there are some remaining Shiro Scouts around this area, so they decided to deal with these closer units and leaving their backs exposed to the overwatch fire of 2 whole Shiro Scouts. Now, despite the losses on the flanks, the main engagement is actually going quite in my favor here. I'm able to catch the Fox Shrine of Balor with my Zolts here, surrounding it, beating it down with a bit of anti-large attacks. Not sure what they're doing. It seems that the unit model of the Fox Shrine is a little bit quirky, because these Zolts are way too far from hitting the Fox Shrine, but they're just striking at thin air. Not sure what they're doing. Perhaps the Fox Shrine has a bigger hitbox than what we can see on the field. Either ways, the Fox Shrine decided to bail from this engagement that it is guaranteed to lose. It tries to aim at my remaining infantry to use up its ammo, while the Direct Elder is trying to slow down the Zolts. Unfortunately, a single character is not going to stop the Zolts as they continues to pursue the Fox Shrine, once again dragging it into melee. While at the back here, the Chulan's Marsh Hornets have been dragged down by a ton of halberds and anti-large damage from the Zolts as well. A lot of armor-piercing anti-large, and there goes the mobility, the last mobility of the Fimir faction. Now, as for the frontline engagement, my Oathsworn, one of them has been routed off by a combination of Killing Eye and the Fim warriors. Now they will be returning back into the middle, trying to support the Fox Shrine of Balor and also the Derek Elder. Not doing too great though, as there are more Oathsworn to reinforce this engagement. Spirit Leech continuously draining my Zolt's health, while my Truthsayer has been spamming 2 spells, one of them the very cost-efficient Flock of Doom. The other one Curse of Ormire to debuff enemy units, but I only really used it once against some Fim warriors and bogglers. Not exactly great, so I've just been spamming Flock of Doom the rest of the battle, using that direct damage to my advantage here to counteract that Spirit Leech, really. Anyways, I do think that not using Spirit Leech on the Truthsayer might have been a mistake, allowing me to dish out more damage with that Flock of Doom. Either ways, right now the Direct Elder is in big trouble, surrounded by Oathsworn with halberds, and the Truthsayer is just not getting touched much. You can see he's still very healthy of the unit, while the Fim Warriors are all breaking in front of a combination of warbands, defenders of Carmelok, and some rear charges from the Hobblers. This leaves pretty much the Shiro Scouts, Overwatch Fire, and some Unbreakable Killing Eye on the battlefield. Another Spirit Leech against something, not sure which one it is. Oh, the Defenders of Carmelok. Definitely not the greatest use of the spell. Perhaps hitting the Truthsayer would have been better, but then again, the Truthsayer has been really healthy the whole time, and a single Spirit Leech is not gonna turn this game around. So there goes the last Shiro Scouts, and there goes army losses. The Fimir faction has lost the game once again. I do believe every single Fimir game I have showcased ended up with a Fimir defeat. I do need to play with it a bit more and try to get a win out of it. Now, anyways, the Killing Eye would be the only thing remaining on the battlefield. We will be going into fast forward and get to the end of the battle as Albion takes victory with their pokey sticks. GG to General Isambard. And now let's have a look at the army performances here. For my Albion units, the Zolts definitely hard carried this game with a ton of healing and buffs with their Flesh to Stone. For the infantry though, whoa, one of the Oathsworn got 2,300 gold worth of damage value. Their armor piercing and anti-large definitely more solid than expected, dragging down a ton of stuff really. One of them definitely the Chulan's Marsh Hornets, who were stuck on the Oathsworn a little too long right there. And then we have the other Oathsworn doing okay, but mostly fighting a bunch of Fim Warriors. Not exactly the best target they could have been fighting. Hobbler is not doing amazing. Two of them earned back their value though. Did some pretty nice rear charging and chasing of routed units. The infantry wise, we have some warbands not doing great actually. They took way too much damage from enemy javelins. The Truthsayer did some pretty good damage with Flock of Doom, so there's that. On the other side, for General Isambard's Fimir, we have the Chulan's Marsh Hornets doing some pretty good damage overall. Same goes for the Killing Eye, a very cost-efficient, unbreakable infantry. Then we have the Hellhounds of Baskamore plus the other Moorhounds who were caught unexpectedly by some Hobblers and some of them Zolts. The Hellhounds definitely took a massive beating right there. Fim Warriors traded okay against the warbands, but just not able to carry the game and eliminate the Zolts and the heavily armored defensive Oathsworn. The Shiro Scouts though with their javelins did some very cost efficient damage, though there is just not enough of them to deal with the entire Albion army. They're pretty much the nobler trappers, but better with their anti-large bonus. It is good enough that we actually have specific unit restrictions on these guys. You can only bring 4 of them in total. Direct Elder with those consistent Spirit Leeches got some pretty reliable damage out, though the Fox Shrine, despite the menacing appearance, didn't really do that much damage. A lot of shots are not landing where they're supposed to be. Especially there was a time where they were just shooting at the Zolts and Hobblers on the flanks, having their shots blocked by the trees. Especially, they never moved their aim away from the Zolts, so a lot of shots actually wasted into the tree lines. Anyways, that's all for today's action. I hope you all enjoy, and if you want to see more of Total War Warhammer multiplayer, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.